What's up, everyone? I'm Brando from the Daily Dope Show with a uh, big story coming out of Mexico. Looks like Mexico is well on its way to legalizing marijuana. Um, and essentially, what we're looking at is the first steps of that happening. So let's go ahead and read this article from UPI. What is UPI? I don't even know what UPI is. Um, I don't know what UPI is, so sorry about the sourcing. But this story is obviously everywhere. Like, just look up Mexico Supreme Court is what I looked up, and I got Mexico Supreme Court strikes down marijuana prohibition. Let's put that in there. Mexico Supreme Court says ban on recreational marijuana is unconstitutional. Mexico court sets precedent on legal recreational pot use. Washington Post. The first one was Reuters. UPI is the one I got. Global News. Ban on recreational cannabis is unconstitutional, says the Mexican Supreme Court. Then you have Marijuana Moment. I didn't even know, this kind of story. This story it's been there all day, I know, but there was so much other things in the way that I just didn't see it. Um, so that's a pretty cool spin on it that the Washington Post has here. As Canada legalizes pot, other countries likely to follow. And then a look at all other countries that could legalize recreational cannabis. It's another article that I see there. Mexico court rules on legal pot use. The Herald Sun. I don't know who UPI is, but I got like 20 different articles coming in from them. Probably not all about this, but uh, more than 24 countries have relaxed their marijuana or other drug laws, and a number could consider legalizing in the not too distant future. Now, remember, if you remember correctly, I did a clip a little while ago about South Africa legalizing marijuana through the Supreme Court. So this was just, September 19th, and back in September, we see this Time magazine article talking about South Africa's Supreme Court has legalized the private use of marijuana. And again, the Supreme Court didn't legalize like selling it or anything like that. They just legalized the fact that you can basically use marijuana, and I guess it's pretty much like any way you want, and that's talking about growing it and processing it and etc. etc. On this list, on this article that just came out on October 17th, we have New Zealand, Mexico, we're about to talk about, the Netherlands, South Africa, Italy, and of course the United States. But I'm thinking that before you get to the United States, you might have about 20 more countries that happen first. So I don't know. But there is hope, because on December 12th, as you might know, if you pay attention to these things, Alexis Bortel's court date has been reestablished from the October 29th court date, to which was postponed, and the new court date is December 12th. So we'll know what's going on there in a little over a month. So I'll keep you abreast of that situation. And so meanwhile, let's get back on this Mexico thing. This is by Patrick Timmons, UPI. I guess they have a. Oh yeah, that's just their trending. This is a trending topic on there. So, drug policy reformers claim victory in Mexico City Wednesday after the country's Supreme Court handed down two rulings legalizing cannabis for all forms of non-commercial adult use. The rulings pave the way for adults to use marijuana in a way they see fit. We aren't just talking about recreational use. Froylán Enciso, a drug policy researcher at Mexico's Social Sciences Institute, the CIDE, told UPI. In the first case, a plaintiff wanting to grow his own marijuana applied to the court for an amparo, a form of constitutional protection from prosecution so that he can plant, cultivate, harvest, prepare, possess, and transport marijuana. In a second case, another plaintiff also applied for amparo to consume marijuana for recreational purposes. The two different plaintiffs aimed to declare unconstitutional Mexico's federal health and penal laws concerning the use of marijuana for non-medical purposes. Quote, the court has found that marijuana can be used for rituals, for recreational use, for medical use, at work, for scientific investigations, for any adult use that and that it cannot be penalized, Enciso said. The drug policy researcher said most people in prison in Mexico for drug crimes are incarcerated for possessing marijuana. Sound familiar? The Mexican government has not put violent criminals in prison, but people who smoke small quantities on street corners or outside, Enciso said. So those decisions will benefit many small consumers. The rulings came after years of strategic litigation by Mexican drug policy activists starting in 2015. Unlike the United States, Mexican federal law requires 5 consecutive rulings on the same issue and in the same direction to create jurisprudence, eventually declaring a law unconstitutional. Now in America, that's a little different. If you're going after the scheduling of cannabis being something that you're aiming your lawsuit at, like Alexis Bortel is, if they declare that that's unconstitutional, then that unravels pretty much prohibition of marijuana. So it would only take one ruling. But the next step towards legalization of cannabis for non-commercial purposes is that the Supreme Court must inform Mexico's Congress within 90 days that prohibiting adult use is unconstitutional. Congress then has to reform the laws, and the court found that the court found unconstitutional. I feel like this is deja vu because a lot of this is the same wording as what was going on in South Africa. If Congress does not act, every adult prosecuted for using marijuana can also apply for protection from the judicial system. The rulings create jurisprudence, but they do not in themselves amount to changes in legislation, and Enciso said. So, even so, they are very important not just for Mexico, but for the United States. When Congress declares marijuana prohibition unconstitutional in Mexico, the drug policy researcher said, the federal government of the United States will be the only prohibitionist jurisdiction left in North America. The land of the free, right, guys? Land of the free. Canada now has legal marijuana. More than 30 states in the U.S. have some form of marijuana legalization, and now with the Mexico legalizing consumption and production, the only drug warriors remaining in North America are President Donald Trump and Attorney General Jeff Sessions. In both cases decided Wednesday, the Supreme Court's justice ruled 4-1 in favor of granting adults the right to use marijuana for non-commercial purposes. The one justice who ruled against plaintiffs argued adult use must not infringe upon the rights of others. That's not such a big deal, dude. Like, why would it infringe on the rights of others? Obviously, if other people are really offended by marijuana, then they should just stay away from places where marijuana is sold, consumed, or otherwise, you know. But when it comes to this like open air smoking outdoors, no one should get arrested for that. So my argument to people who act like just because they smell the smell of marijuana smoke in the air, their rights have been infringed upon, I say no way. That doesn't qualify, because I smell horse shit, and you know, we got that lawsuit out there in the border states of Colorado talking about the smell of marijuana is causing the experience of their horse farm to be not. I mean, it's horses. You're okay with horse shit smell, but marijuana smell is an issue. So I'm just not buying that argument that smelling marijuana is a violation of somebody else's attempt to be free and live a free, liberty-based life. What would you want to do? Put someone in jail for smoking weed in public? Because that's a little bit more. Anyway, So that's what's going on in Mexico, and it's just a matter of time before there's fully regulated stores selling marijuana. I think, just like in South Africa, uh, the Supreme Court doesn't write legislation or regulations or set up guidelines for a marketplace. That's usually the job of the government, the Congress or whatever. So we'll be following that to see how that rolls out, and I'm gonna keep this clip short and just to emphasize the point that America will be the last country on this green earth that legalizes marijuana. I'm pretty sure of that. So congratulations, Mexico, and the activists there that figured out how to beat the system that's unjust and unconstitutional, and that's what it is here too. The prohibition on marijuana is unconstitutional on several levels. But what's worse is when they catch you with marijuana, then the police on the scene or the investigators or the raid team that kicks the door in, they take your rights away. All the rights that you have, constitutional rights, like the right to say anything about it, the right to do anything about it, the right to not have your shit searched, all that stuff. They just throw that right out the window and put you in a cage. So that's what we got in Mexico. They can't do that anymore, and that's just like the best thing ever. So that's all I got on it. Have a good one, man. When are we? And also, if you live in Michigan, vote yes on Prop 1, of course. This is my rundown I might do from here on out till the elections. And then Missouri, you got to vote yes on Amendment 2, no doubt about it. And then over here in Utah, definitely vote yes to legalize medical marijuana because, their legislation package needs a 75% majority if you guys pass that law. If you don't pass the law, my guess is they're not even going to pass that garbage. But they might still. Who knows? It'll go up for a vote, and whether it passes or not, it's anyone's guess. This is Utah we're talking about, so it's kind of risky. And then we have Missouri. Oh, no, I already said Missouri, Amendment 2 only. Don't even worry about those other ones. I mean, you can... do they hold a gun to your head and tell you have to vote? Like, hey, you have to say yes or no on the other ones. If you don't, just don't even vote on them, because I don't even care about them. I looked at them, they're garbage. And then you got North Dakota. Please vote yes to legalize marijuana in North Dakota. I want my North Dakota back. I guess I never had it. I've only been there once, and I was nervous as hell to have marijuana anywhere where I had it, which I did have it, because there's no way I'm going anywhere without my medicine. And that's all I got on this. So congratulations, Mexico, and all those things I just said about voting. And oh yeah, I think it was Minnesota that has several counties or whatever districts have referendum voting on marijuana. Of course, vote yes for all those. And isn't it sad that that's all it is some kind of a shady little referendum? Oh yeah, you already know. We already do polling. You can look at any poll and say that, yep, 2 out of 3 people say legalize marijuana. We don't need to do a referendum vote. The referendum is that 2 out of 3 people say legalize marijuana. Why do you need that in writing? So maybe they'll rig it like they do with all the other elections and say that people don't really want marijuana legalized there. Who knows if that's their strategy or whatever. No telling. But that's all I got on this. Hit the like button, subscribe if you already aren't subscribed, because I'm going to keep up with all the details of the elections in the next few days. And have a nice one. Bye.